Hey, what's up everyone? In this video, I'm going to be covering the SEOPress Pro and SEOPress Free plugin. I'm going to break down this video into sections for both of those versions. This video is going to apply to anyone with a WordPress website, but I'm also going to touch specifically on the MyListing theme. So anyone running the MyListing theme, there's going to be some special pieces of this video, and also the guide that you're seeing on my screen will have special pieces for the MyListing theme. Okay, so let's go ahead and run down what is going to be covered in here. I'm going to talk about, like I said, the free versus the pro version, performance, best practices, a little bit of bonus material for the MyListing people on Breadcrumbs and getting those into single listings, which I haven't seen anybody successfully do yet. So we're going to look at that. And yeah, I think that about covers it. There's going to be some other things I'm probably not thinking of that we're going to cover in this video, but let's go ahead and jump into it. As the disclaimer I see at the very top of this post that you see on my screen, if I don't mention a specific setting, I consider the default setting acceptable, or the setting options are so obvious that you can figure out what to set for yourself. The above said, there is no one size fits all when configuring a solution's settings. So review all of the available settings. Configure the settings as best you can, but do not just guess at a setting. If you're a client of mine, you know how to reach me, ask for help. If you're not, anybody that's a club paying member can jump into the club's Facebook group and ask questions about SEOPress, SEO in general, or anything else, okay? So again, we're gonna work with the free version of SEOPress and then the pro. We're gonna break it up into two sections. Whenever someone puts up a poll in a SEO related community, SEOPress wins almost every time. If you go into a community where it's more of a generalist community for freelancers, beginner, web builders, things of that nature, you're often going to see other plugins mentioned like Rank Math, Yoast, things of that nature. And SEOPress may or may not win in those communities. And the reason for that is because Yoast has been around for a super long time. So it floats to the top of the WordPress repository based on all of its installs and its history. So it has that bit of an advantage over the other plugins. Rank Math has a super aggressive marketing campaign, which helps it win out in a lot of cases. Whereas SEOPress is just a super solid solution that isn't so hell-bent and focused on the marketing aspect. It lets the product do the talking. So a lot of people start with Yoast and Rank Math and come over to SEOPress. I see it all the time, okay? So the good news is that SEOPress makes it super easy to import the settings from one of those competing plugins. You know, bring those settings and metadata over into SEOPress really easily, okay? So that's the good news on that. All right, so I'm gonna move this guide over to the screen. I just completely revamped this guide. I finished actually this morning before recording this video. It covers the latest version of SEOPress, which at the time of this recording is 6.8. So again, completely revamped the guide from top to bottom. All right, so let's first look at SEOPress Free. And I'm just gonna add that to this demo MyListing website. So this is just a dummy website. I'm gonna go to the repository and do a search for SEOPress. We're just gonna install it and activate it. Okay, we're going to stay right here on this screen, and I'm just going to click the configuration wizard link, open that in a new tab. And we're going to run through this together. Again, there's going to be some things that are just obvious. I'm just going to skip past because you can set them for yourself when you run the wizard, okay? So we're just going to click next step here. I wanted to show you this. I could have skipped this, but I want to show it to you. This is if you want to import from another plugin. You just select that plugin here from the list and then go through the migration steps. It's really simple stuff. All right, so I'm just gonna skip this. I'm gonna skip this screen too. This is more personal to you, personal to your business, whatever your site name is. If you have a preference on your separator, things of that nature, your images, that sort of thing. But I also want people to set this stuff up manually later on, which we'll look at. So let's skip this step. Social accounts, you can go ahead and drop those in at this point. That's not a problem. I'm just going to skip this step. Okay, so now I'm getting into some of the meat and potatoes. For which single post types should indexing be disabled? So we want our posts to stay enabled. We want pages to stay enabled. And we want our listings to stay enabled if you have a MyListing website. So what I would choose to not index is landing pages typically. These come from Elementor. You see here in the name, landing pages. So if you're using that feature from Elementor and you're building SEO optimized landing pages with it, then you might want to index these. But more often than not, I think you're not going to want to index these. Next up is products. Unless you're running a full-blown e-commerce website, I would keep this disabled. I would not index my products. The MyListing Club and my other businesses are more full-blown e-commerce sites with products and services and things like that. So I want that stuff indexed. On my listing website, you might just have your listing packages, or maybe you sell a t-shirt or a coffee mug or something, but not really a full-blown e-commerce website. So there's no use in indexing that stuff. So what's the harm in doing that? Just like when you go shopping at a store, you might have a budget. So I have $100 I can spend on groceries this week. I go to the store. Once that $100 is gone, I have to stop shopping. Google, for example, has a crawl budget. It's the same concept. They have a certain amount of time to go to each website and crawl all of their content. Once that crawl budget's gone, it's used up, they bounce, they go to the next site, crawl it, bounce, move on, so on and so forth. So each of these things that you index go against your crawl budget. Why have Google, for example, crawl this stuff on your website if it holds no SEO value? Let them get to your good stuff, okay? Make sure they have enough crawl budget to get to your SEO optimized content, okay? So that's why this is done. So we're gonna click Save and Continue here. For which post type archives? Same thing, landing pages and products. I'm gonna not have those indexed. But again, if you have a full-blown e-commerce store, you want to uncheck this box. And if you're really, really SEO optimizing landing pages using that Elementor feature with their landing pages, you're going to want that to uncheck this box and have it indexed. For which taxonomy archives should indexing be disabled? So for this, I always disable tags. They hold, I don't even know what percentage, 99% of the time they hold zero SEO value. They just get in the way. Again, crawl budget, that sort of thing. So tags here for the posts, that's this top one. This one right here is for listing. So listing tags, that could be like free Wi-Fi, like amenities, free Wi-Fi, credit card, we accept credit cards, wheelchair accessible, things like that. There's no real SEO value in that. And then lastly, product tags. Unless you're running a full-blown product or e-commerce store again, and even then, product tags they don't really have SEO value. So like, a tag could be color, so red, blue, green. There's no SEO value in that. It's good for navigation, but not necessarily for SEO optimized content. Okay, so I always just disable all tags. This top one here is categories for your posts. You're probably gonna have a blog. I would not touch that. Next up is categories and regions for those with MyListing websites. So if you are doing SEO optimized category pages and region pages, which you should be, then that's when I would want those indexed. If you are not doing that, an argument could be made to not even crawl your regions and your categories. What SEO value do they provide other than navigation and filtering and sorting? You see what I'm saying? Let's do, let me pull up a site here. I'm gonna show you an example of a SEO optimized region page. So this is one of my starter sites. And if we go to the Explore page, here in the preview card, we see the city Chicago. This is done by from an add-on through the club called Enhanced Region Permalink. So it allows you to go straight from a region into pull up the corresponding region page where this is now SEO optimized. Okay, so you could do the same thing with categories, category optimized pages for SEO. All right, so that's the concept there. If you're not doing either of those, an argument, like I said, could be made for disabling these. Don't index them, okay? I would probably err on the side of just letting them be indexed because I'd say most MyListing websites are going to utilize categories and regions. Up to you there, but we'll leave those indexed for now. Moving on down, custom taxonomy, it's the same concept. It's just another taxonomy. So if you're not building SEO optimized pages for these, consider not indexing them, okay? I'm just gonna go ahead and move on here. This is actually the default setting right here. I've ran through this wizard before, so some of this stuff was already checked. So this is how you would see it if you're running through the wizard, on your own first time. Do not display author archives in search engine. If you're running a blog where there are multiple authors contributing to your blog, then an argument can be made that you do want to index this stuff. But by default, typically MyListing websites or WordPress websites, the author is the owner of the website. But if you have other authors contributing, you might want to uncheck this. But definitely keep this checked if you're the only author or the website owner is the only author. And then we want to check this redirect attachment pages to their file URL. Okay, and you can read up on that. Those are the two settings that I go with. Again, look at these settings and see if they apply to your business and make sense to you. Some people are really picky about their URLs, so they might want to have post-category removed from these permalinks, specific permalinks from the products and post categories. As it says here, shorten your URLs by removing that. So totally up to you. It's just a personal preference. So we're going to go ahead and continue here. Universal SEO meta box. I would watch that video, understand what it is, see if it's something that you feel like you need for your business, your website, and enable it if you want to, okay? I don't use it. I don't really find a need for it, but you might. So I'm going to skip this step. This is just an advertisement for SEOPress Pro. We're going to skip that for now. This is an advertisement for SEOPress Insights, a completely separate product, which I'll cover in a later guide video coming up. We're going to skip this step for now. All right, so we're now ready to jump and we're going to dive into all the settings that come with SEOPress, the free version, okay? So we're just going to click this review settings button. We're going to go through all of these boxes right here that come with SEOPress. We're going to look at these individually and see what you might want to set up in here. First up is title and metas. I'm going to open this in a new tab. This first screen I'm going to skip. It's just you can look at this and set this up for yourself. Pretty easy stuff. Post types. So this is simply saying that with these toggles anyway, it's simply saying, do you want to look at the configuration configuration boxes for each of these? So do you want the ability on a post, for example, to see SEOPress's meta box configurator? So let me just show you this. If I have a post and I go into here and we edit that post, down here at the bottom, this section right here, okay? This is what I'm talking about. Do you want to see that? That's all we're setting here. If you don't want to see that, if you're not going to configure this stuff on an individual basis, you're not going to do the content analysis tool, that sort of thing with SEOPress, you can disable that. So then if I do that, let's go back here and edit this post and just refresh it. We see now that there's no SEO box. There's nothing here to configure SEO-wise specifically for this post using SEOPress, okay? I'm going to toggle that back on. So we got posts, we've got pages. If you have a MyListing website, listings, this is landing pages. If you're I've covered this a couple times now. If you're not using the Elementor's landing pages to really do SEO optimized stuff, we want to disable this, get rid of the noise. We don't need to have this on. But an argument could be made too, if you're not using these anyway, you just leave it on because you're not going to see it anyway because you're not really using those pages. But I just like to turn that off because I don't use these currently. Moving on down, if you have a MyListing website, you want to have your listings toggled on for sure. Unless you have all this stuff automated. All of this stuff here, if you want to just automate this and not look at the individual settings per listing or per post or per page, you can toggle this stuff off. It's just you got to be really good about what you do here as far as configuring the dynamic meta, the automatic meta that's on the page. Okay. Products, the same thing. Unless you're running a full-blown e-commerce store, you can just toggle this off. You don't need to see this in your products. Okay, so let's roll with this for now. Looking back at this post though, again, now that we've enabled that back, you're going to have this SEO down here. So what I'm saying is, if you're not going to use content analysis, if you know that you can dynamically with variables get your titles set, your meta description set, that sort of thing, you don't need a unique image for social. So here's the social tab. If you don't need a unique social image on a per post basis, if you don't need to individually set no index for specific pages, things like that, then you might come back in here and toggle this off, okay? But you're probably gonna wanna leave it on. Okay, let's jump over to archives. Landing pages, same thing, we're not indexing. This is just saying we're not indexing it. You can see that by this line right here, do not display. We're gonna no index. We are gonna index the listings for sure. Products, if you have a full-blown store, yes. In this case, we are not displaying these in the archive and search results, no index. Author archives, again, you want to do, no index, as we see here, unless you have multiple authors on an active blog, that sort of thing. Okay, and then last ones down here are date archives. Pretty much never want to do to index these. These are no indexed by default. And then the last one up here is 404 archives. You don't even get the option because those aren't going to be indexed. All right, taxonomies. We talked about this as part of the wizard. Again, if you're not going to configure these on an individual basis, you don't need to see that SEO meta box configuration section within each post or category or tag or whatever. You can toggle that off. I would toggle this off for tags. There's an argument can be made for toggling this off for all of these, actually. Let me show you an example. So if I'm in listings and I go to categories, and I go to apartment, for example, so the apartment category, are you really going to jump down here and configure this stuff individually? I would say more often than not, you're probably not going to get into this. You can also, again, automate this stuff. So you can, using variables, you can, as you see these variables right here, you can dynamically set this up one time versus individually. So if you want to get this stuff out of the way when you're configuring all of this stuff for your website, you can just toggle off and not see that. So let's do that for that one just to show you. So we see the SEO section here, and now let's refresh. Thinking about it. We did, that's categories that should be gone. Taxonomies. Oh, that's my fault. I'm sorry. That's your post categories. Let's go down to, here we go. Sorry. Listing categories. There we go. So now we see that's gone. It's out of the way, less noise for you to worry about. So up to you there, what you want to do. That's what that is for. So again, looking down through these categories, yeah, like I said, an argument could be made. You could just toggle all of these off and get them all out of the way. All right. So that's what those for. Specifically here, what I want to look at before we go on is the, let's see what else. No, that's actually good. We'll just move on here. But what this is saying here is that you can dynamically configure. I lied. Let's go ahead and, sorry, I'm waffling here. I'm trying to think how I want to go about this. Let's leave these as is for now. Let's move over to back to our post types here. So listings are a big post type here if we are with a MyListing website. So that's what we've got here, okay? So out of the box, MyListing doesn't do title meta well, okay? It's not the end of the world, but it's also not great. So let me show you what I mean here. Let's go to our listings. Let's pull up this Mercedes-Benz car listing on the front end. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to disable SEOPress real quick. Okay, so now it's like a demo MyListing website as you would get if you set it up yourself. No SEOPress plugin is active at this point. Let's refresh this listing. Let's right click on the page and view page source. Up here at the top, we see the meta title. Can you see that here? It says, this is the problem. That is not a valid separator for SEO. That's not what you want to see there. You want a dash or something else to be in there, a pipe symbol, a better SEO optimized separator in there, okay? All right, so let's look at how to do that. So let's go back to our plugins. Let's activate SEOPress again. Just by enabling SEOPress and doing nothing else, let's refresh this page. Let's do a before and after here. Here we go. Look at the title now. It's got that dash in there. It's got that separator. So that is an SEO optimized title. It's better than what was here, okay? So let's close these down. Now we can do better, even better than that. Looking at the title meta template, the default variables, post title, separator, site title will output what I showed you there, okay? So if we go back to our titles and meta settings, okay, and let's go to our post types and let's find listings here again. There we go. So this is the default variable, and you can adjust this. You can see all these different options you have here. Lots of options. But this is what created that new SEO optimized meta title that I showed you. Okay. Now, if you want to do something more to it, you can do that right here. Let's look at the meta description, for example. In the club guide, I tell you how to apply meta to show you how to apply meta to listings. Okay. So what we're going to do here with this code I'm about to show you is we're going to inject the listings title, listing type, region, and site title into the meta description. So I shouldn't have closed that down. Let's look at the actual, I shouldn't have closed down the listing page source. Let's look at that. Let's look at the meta description. Let's see if I do a search here. Description. Okay, here we go. So traveling alternation impression 6 all uncommonly. They've probably just got some dummy thing in there. I'm not really sure. I'd have to look where that's pulling from. So we obviously would want to make that better, okay? So what we can do here under listings and the meta title, you can copy what I've given you in the guide for this, the SEOPress guide, or you can build it yourself. But I'm just going to drop this in here. And this is just an example. So what this is saying is post title, and then it injects the words provides wedding, and then it injects in the listing type, and then injects the words services in the, and then injects the region area. Check out their listing on, and then it injects the site title. Okay, so let's save this. Let's just pretend hypothetically this is a service that has to do, this listing is a wedding service. Refresh this. And let's do a search for description again. Here we go. So now the description has switched. Mercedes-Benz provides, pretend this was the name of a wedding vendor. So-and-so wedding vendor provides wedding car services in the area. This would be, if you actually had this stuff configured, like the region and whatnot, this would all look much, much better, right? Check out their listing on ML Core, which is the name of this demo website. But you can see how you build this out automatically. So you don't have to go to each individual listing and set this. It's just done for you, okay? So you got to find, it's global. So you got to find that, you have to find that meta description or the meta title that's going to work for everything, unless you are willing to go in and do these on an individual basis, which listings would be very time consuming. So find the least common denominator here of a meta description set up and variables that would work across all of the listings for your site, if that's possible, okay? Breaking down the listing meta, post title provides the wedding, which I showed you. This is going to make more sense if you look at the guide, but post title is simply just the listing title. The listing type variable is going to pull in the listing type. The region is going to pull in whatever region they had set in their listing, and then check out their listing on, and then the site title, it's going to pull in the actual name of your website. So really cool stuff. All right. What else can I tell you about this? The post title. So let me pop this back in here. So listings, this post title variable, it works great if you only have one listing type. So actually a lot of this, like I said, if you have one listing type. Weddings could be universal if your site is about weddings, but the post title, let me think how to explain this. What if you have more than one listing type and they don't necessarily relate directly to weddings? That's where the OpenAI integration, which I'm going to show you in a second, probably makes more sense there. So long story short, find the variables here that work universally across your site, especially if you have multiple listing types. That's what I'm trying to drive home there, okay? Suppose your MyListing website is such that you are adding listings on behalf of your users and customers. In that case, you will need to decide if something like the above will work for you, assigning the meta, or if you want to manually take time to craft unique meta on a case-by-case basis. Again, the SEOPress OpenAI integration can help here, which I'll cover here in this guide. So what I'm trying to say here is if we go to this listing in the back end here and we edit it, if this global meta description doesn't work for you, for your site, for whatever reason, you can come down in here and you can set that right here, the meta description for this individual listing, okay? So it's tedious, it's more time consuming, it's manual, it's more prone to errors, but you could do it, all right? And then in the guide that I'm following here, I've got a video that shows you how to do this. I'll walk you through how to do this, covering what we just did and then some, okay? All right, taxonomies, I talked about that. If you choose to disable the indexing, of, let's go back here so you actually know what I'm talking about here. So we're back here under this taxonomy section. If you choose to disable the indexing of certain taxonomies, I recommend disabling hiding the SEO meta boxes for those taxonomies using the toggle switch. So I went over this. It's just a way of eliminating noise. If you're not going to have tags, configure the tags, disable this. You just get that box out of the way. Although, like I said, an argument can be made if you're not looking at the tags anyway, or something else. Tags is probably not a good example on a MyListing site because you might be using those. But let's say product tags. If you're not going to go into each individual product tag and configure them, toggle that off or not. It's kind of hard to say overall. But yeah, if you don't need to configure, if you're not going into the product tags at all, probably okay just to leave this toggled on. But if you are going in there, but you don't care about the SEO part on an individual product tag basis, then disable this so it eliminates the noise. Okay, I think that's the best. Hopefully that makes sense. The best way I can explain it. All right, XML sitemap. Let's look at that. So let's close this down. We're back in our dashboard. So now we're moving over to the XML and HTML sitemaps. So let's manage that. Right off the bat, I just wanted to say XML sitemaps are for search engines to use. HTML sitemaps are for humans to use, to navigate and things of that nature. So I'll show you an example of that. I think I can show you actually on the club website. I think I have a sitemap going. I better have a sitemap going. Actually, I don't think I send a link specifically for that. So let me show you another site. All right, so this is the Fit Starter site again, and then we go down to the footer. We have a sitemap here. So right here in the bottom of the footer. If I click that, this is an HTML sitemap. This is for navigation purposes. It's for humans, like I said, okay? So really cool stuff here. These are all links that link to the actual whatever it is they need to link to. This was built with Elementor, but you can actually do this with SEOPress. SEOPress will spit out the code that you need to make this happen, okay? So that's the differences in the different types of HTML. All right, moving on down through here, XML sitemap is toggled on by default. Image sitemap is toggled on by default. I'm going to go ahead and enable the HTML sitemap as well and save my changes. All right, so moving on down, you can skip the rest of the stuff except for those that are on. There's a really important piece here, and for those that are on hosting that uses Nginx technology, Kinsta, for example. So all of us that are on Kinsta uses Nginx. It's probably the most popular server technology there is in that particular area of server technology. So if you're using that, what you want to do is take this code that's provided right here and go to your host and tell them to add it to your configuration, to your web server. If you're on Kinsta, for example, just fire up a chat with them and tell them that you need to add this and they will take care of it for you, easy peasy, all right? If you are one of my care plan clients, I will just take care of this for you if you're using SEOPress, and obviously you're gonna be on Kinsta. If you're on my care plan at that point, I'll take care of all of that for you, okay? All right, what else? I think we got everything going in here. Let me check my guide, make sure I didn't miss anything. Oh yeah, author sitemap. Enable this only if, it's kind of like the archives. Enable this only if you're gonna have a blog with multiple authors contributing to it, okay? You wanna get that author sitemap built. Otherwise, just keep this disabled here. All right, so let's move on. We'll save our changes again. I can't remember if I did anything there. Let's go over to post types. All right, so what do you want to include and exclude from your sitemap? This is the XML sitemap, the one that the search engines use. I don't want landing pages, the Elementor landing pages in that sitemap unless they're SEO optimized pages. All right, so that is unchecked. I want my posts pages to be in there. I want my listings to be in there, so I want to absolutely check that box. If you have a full-blown e-commerce store, check products. I'm going to uncheck it here, and then media, we just leave that unchecked. You don't want to check that box. Okay, save changes. Let's move on down to taxonomies. Same thing as we talked about before with our when we were enabling those meta boxes and not using these versus not. It just depends on your site, but I don't care to index tags of any kind. So I check all those. I'm going to keep all of those out of the sitemap. There's no need for those to be in there. I don't need to tell Google or any other search engine bot about them because I don't care. So all the tags are checked. Again, I don't have, in this particular case, I don't have a full-blown e-commerce store because I'm just running a basic MyListing site selling listing packages and maybe a product or two. So I'm going to check that. Custom taxonomies. In this example, my taxonomies have no SEO value, we'll pretend. So all I really care about at this stage, sorry, I got this backwards here. So let me uncheck these. Okay, so what I want to include are my post categories. These are just my regular WordPress posts, my listing categories, and my listing regions. I'm just going to assume that people are going to do SEO optimized stuff for this, so we want to capture those. And then everything else I don't care about in this particular example here, okay? So I'm going to save changes. And now HTML sitemap. Again, this is the one for humans. You can build it with Elementor. They have a sitemap widget you can use, which is what I showed you earlier. You can also just take this short code right here that SEOPress provides you, drop it into a page using the short code widget with Elementor or with the WordPress block editor, and drop it in, and SEOPress will dynamically create that HTML sitemap for you. Okay, and then you can go on and further change the things like how you order the posts, display the publication date, and all of these other things. Totally up to you how you want to go about that. All right, let's go back to general here. We're going to click on this link right here. This is going to pull up your sitemap in another tab. And let's just go into listings, for example. So job listing sitemap. What you're going to want to do here is just make sure that there's no errors. You go into each of these, make sure there's no errors that display. It's probably not going to be any errors when you set up a site from the very beginning. Okay. All right. So that looks good. You just want to make sure, like I said, there's no errors. As your site gets running and things like that, you might have a situation where some errors pop up for whatever reason. Should be pretty rare, but just wanted you to be aware that's how you navigate all of that stuff. Okay. All right. Prevent sitemap 404 errors. If your web server uses Nginx, again, I want to drive this home. Give your website host provider this information. Let them know that you need to add this to your configuration. I've also in the guide included this so you can copy and paste straight from the guide. Okay. I went over post types. I went over taxonomies. This is all in checklist format in the guide. So it's just, or step by step, I should say, just go one by one and do that. All right. So that's good. So let's go to our next box here, which is social networks. Okay. For this one, this defines the knowledge graph is our first thing up here. The knowledge graph defines the overall schema of your business website and makes it available to Google's knowledge graph via the source code on your homepage. So if you review, this only occurs on your homepage. So if I view the page source on here, this is what they're talking about. The source code for the knowledge graph will be in here. So if we look, let's go right here. See this OG, meta property equals OG equal URL, site name, type, blah, 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 blah. That's the open graph stuff, okay? And that only occurs on your homepage. If I go to this Explore page, for example, view the page source on this one, we don't get the same thing because as you see here, the OG URL on this one is different because it's not our home, obviously. It's going to have some of the same stuff here. So site name, ML Core is the name of the site, for example. But yeah, this is going to be pulled from your homepage. All right. Yeah, your homepage source code. Social networks. Let's go back to the knowledge graph. So you want to fill in this stuff as completely as possible and as accurately as possible. Okay. So any online entity that you are a part of, whether you're adding yourself to another directory, or whatever, or it's your website contact us page or whatever. You want to make sure all of this data is consistent. And then if they want you to add images, follow the image dimensions that they recommend. Follow all of this stuff as precisely as you can, accurate, consistent, all of those types of things. All right, for social networks, social accounts, fill in all of these that you actually use and are a part of. If you've got an Instagram account, but you're not doing anything with it, like you don't need to drop it in here. You can always add it later. Just put in the stuff that you're actively using and taking part in, okay? And then you can add any additional accounts down here in the bottom, okay? Let's see if there's anything else I need to say. That Facebook Open Graph. This is a set of rules used to integrate any website page into a social graph, which is the Facebook graph in this case. In short, we're telling Facebook how our shared content should be displayed on Facebook's platform. If you're not interested in having your business interact with Facebook's open graph, disable this option using the checkbox. Otherwise, let's proceed. So you can check this box right here and just not worry about it. And I spoke incorrectly before. That OG data that we're seeing here on the homepage, that's that Facebook open graph, okay? So what I was talking about before and just let's go back to the knowledge graph here. This is the stuff here that actually just appears on the homepage, like I said. So if I set this, let's put organization, let's put person in here. Let's see how that shows up. So let's refresh this. And then we saw some stuff populate in here, right? Let's do a search for person. There we go. So now we see the schema here. Let me just blow this up for you. Okay, so this is new right here. That's this line. Person was added there. But now if we conversely, we look at this explore page code, let's just refresh this so that's a fair comparison. And I do a search here for the word person. It doesn't come up the same. So it's not the same line. So here it was line 21, schema person. You can clearly see that this is not the same line. Sorry, let me do a search for that again. Person. Okay, we see here that it's clearly not the same thing. This is all the way down at line 2000 something. So it's not the same thing. So again, the open graph stuff here, the knowledge graph stuff here, this is source code. It only appears on your homepage, whatever you set there. Okay. All right, so I'll set that back the way it was. There were changes. And then Facebook is OG, is any of the stuff with the OG. Where is it at? Let's go back here. All right. Do a search for OG. Maybe what did I do there? I feel like I did something. I think I did something there. Let's go back here. Yeah, I toggled that off. I toggled off the OG data. It's like, where did it all go? There we go. So there we go. You see the OG stuff in there. Facebook Open Graph. Okay. All right. So I think we beat that to death. Twitter card, same thing. If you're using Twitter, enable Twitter card. If you're not, you could disable this if you wanted. But if you're using Twitter, you want to configure this stuff as accurately as possible and all of that good stuff. Pretty simple stuff, self-explanatory, but the main thing I wanted to point out there is kind of how the graphs are different and where they appear in the source code and which pages and that sort of thing. Okay. Setting up Facebook Open Graph. Go back here. There's a setting in here like the ownership ID and admin ID. We're not going to do it in this video, but if you follow along with the club's guide, I walk you through step by step how to set all this stuff up. Okay. We went through the Twitter card. Okay, so that's good. Let's close this stuff down. Let's move to the next thing here, which is, I think it's, analytics here. All right, this is a lot to unpack here. If you're not in a position or have no desire to understand the analytics, you can skip over the section altogether and toggle off this feature in SEOPress. So you don't care about any of this stuff. If you don't, you can toggle this off. I don't have any numbers as far as how this has a performance impact. If it does by leaving this checked on, I always like to err on the side of just, if I'm not going to use the stuff, just toggle it off. That's just me. It's just too easy to toggle it off. And it might have performance benefits. Okay, so something to consider there, but let's go ahead and assume that you want this. Let's go ahead and move on here. There's in the guide, I have a link to set up Google Analytics. I have a separate guide for this. So if you're following along with the club's guide, I'm going to link you to this guide and it's going to walk you through. This is completely revamped, updated as well. So you can walk through that. So that's going to get you through the Google Analytics section here. And Matimo is not part of this video, but it's a completely separate analytics program. It's pretty good stuff. So if you use it, this section is for you. I'm going to move on down to Clarity. And for this, same thing as Google Analytics. It's a difference, more of like a heat map solution, which I really recommend. It's awesome. It's free. This guide is what I link to. So rather than reinvent the wheel and put this into this SEOPress guide, I just link out to that guide. So that's going to walk you through how to set up this Microsoft Clarity section of SEOPress. All right, advanced. What do we want to talk about here? If you're going to use SEOPress to enable your Google Analytics or Matimo tracking, I recommend excluding the roles listed below from tracking. So down here in the bottom, you can easily buy roles. So under this miscellaneous section here, I recommend not tracking those. So you probably want to track your subscribers. You do want to track your subscribers. You want to track your customers, but you don't want to track what your administrators are doing, your editors are doing, and things like that. It's just going to pollute your statistics and make you think that you're doing better than you are. It inflates them, it pollutes them. So I wouldn't track those. Okay, and then you can go on further here to do more advanced stuff in this section if you want to, as far as tracking tags, post types, things of that nature. Okay, we're not going to cover that in this particular video. I think 9 times out of 10, people aren't going to mess with that stuff, but definitely this excluding roles from tracking is important. So I covered that. Okay. All right, moving on down is the cookie bar. SEOPress includes this. So you can display a cookie bar if GDPR is really important to you, or if you just want to let people know in general about your cookie tracking and whatnot, you can use this. Okay. So you can just go through here and set this up. If you have any questions, let me know. It's pretty self-explanatory stuff. I also recommend, if you don't want to use this, you can use Termageddon. So I link to that in the guide. Termageddon provides a cookie consent solution as well that ties into their policies. Okay. Their policy solution, I should say. All right, so you can use what's right here with SEOPress, or you can use Termageddon if you already use Termageddon or you're considering using it. So you have options there. And then I don't think I did anything with custom tracking here. Yeah, I didn't do anything here. But if you're using, I prefer to do this stuff. You know what? I'm going to circle back and add this to the guide actually. But I do this stuff with Perf Matters. So instead of adding it here, you could add it here, but I like to add it in Perf Matters. And sometimes it depends on what you're doing. You can even add it with WP Codebox. But if you look at Perf Matters, they give you very self-explanatory, the head, the body footer, just as they do here. Same concepts. Okay. If you're not using Perf Matters and this is your only option to add it, I would much rather see you add it here than installing another plugin just to do this. So I want you to be aware that it's here. I'm going to add that to the guide as soon as we get off this video. Okay, let's close this down. Let's jump over to instant indexing. This feature lets website owners directly notify Google and/or Bing when specific content, blogs, posts, pages, listings, etc. are added or removed, triggering a fresh crawl of your site that can lead to higher quality user traffic. For MyListing websites with many short-lived pages like job or event listings, the indexing API keeps content fresh in search results because it allows updates to be pushed individually. So that's a fancy way of saying that, like, if you have events that are expiring and whatever, you want them to stay fresh in the index and things like that. And instant indexing allows you to do that. So rather than waiting for Google to circle back around and crawl your site and however long it is, weeks, days, whatever that is, we're going to get a fresh crawl immediately using instant indexing. Okay. Google Search Console allows you to do something similar, but there are 2 downsides compared to SEOPress. Google Search Console only allows you to specify one URL at a time, and you obviously have to visit Google Search Console, whereas SEOPress allows you to do everything right from your website, which we're going to see here. For MyListing websites with many short-lived pages like job, I already went over that. I got duplicate content in there that I need to erase. Please note that instant indexing does not replace sitemaps. So don't think that if you implement instant indexing here that you don't need to have sitemaps. You absolutely do. Okay. In the steps below, we're going to cover the Google indexing API and Bing. Okay. So what you want to do is just toggle both of these on and save your changes. And then you want to jump over to settings. Okay. And the first step we need to do is get our Google indexing API. I cover this step by step. I literally just went through this many times to make sure my documentation is correct. In the guide, I walk you through how to do this. So here you can see this here. Here are the steps, and then here are the steps. Okay, so I'm not going to do that in this video. I'm going to post this video at the bottom of this this guide so you can see how to do it there. But I gave you step-by-step there, and you'll have this video as well. Configure instant indexing within SEOPress. So we check the boxes, we saved our changes, we follow all the steps, we paste in our Google JSON key here. Bing automatically creates our key, so we don't need to do anything there. And then this box right here is already checked, so that's good. We're good to go there. So you just need to get your Google JSON key in there, and then Google and Bing are both ready to go. Bing is ready to go out of the box, but then you jump back over in here. And then once you have the URLs, let's say for some reason you need to get a jump start on this. So you launch your website, it's day one, you've got a lot of pages, a lot of posts, a lot of listings, but Google doesn't yet know about your website. You can tell them that you exist by submitting your sitemap. But if you want to get like a real jump start on things, you can also manually jump in here and drop those URLs in here, okay? All right. Let me think if I have any other special notes here. Yes. Okay. So this is a trick I want to show you. I'm going to show you how to do this in general, but I also want to show you a trick. So let's pull open our sitemap. Okay. So again, this link up here at the very top is our sitemap link. We're going to go into this. This is got all of our sitemaps in. Let's say you've got 100 listings or whatever, and you want to get those indexing right away. So you jump into your listing sitemap. Okay, and we want to grab all of these URLs. But the problem here, this is where the trick's coming in. How do you grab all these URLs without grabbing the date? You do not want to grab the date. You just want the URLs. So using CSS, you can just inspect the page. So let's inspect the word last update. Okay, and then we're just going to say display none. Okay, that gets rid of that label. Let's also right click on the date. Display none. Boom, that's the trick. Now we can go here, select our URLs, copy them. We're going to jump back over into the instant indexing section. We're going to drop these URLs in here. Pretty cool, right? So now as soon as I say submit URLs to Google and Bing, it's going to do that. It's going to give you that jump start. Really cool stuff, right? I was tinkering with this before, and I was trying to write a script to remove the dates, and I'm like, forget about it. There's got to be an easier way. And then it just dawned on me. So yeah, so just click that button there. You can submit that to Google and whatnot. This is, if you see an error down here, that's likely you've got something on Google's side that you need to tweak. And I haven't configured it at all for this site. And I don't even have the Google indexing API key in here. So that's why that error message is in there. Okay. If you follow the guide too, I also give you the pro tip message, like how to hide that stuff with CSS. So in case you forget. Okay. So that's pretty cool stuff. Let's go to the next thing, which is, I have this going to, I didn't do, sorry, I'm brain farting this. Image SEO and advanced settings. That word I think changes when you put pro in there. That's why I'm tripped up. Okay, I see what I did here. Okay, so from the start, we had this in here when we were doing the wizard. Actually, it was this one. We also want to do this box. So we just basically, because of what we said in the wizard and because of what's checked by default, we want these top two checked. These all down here, that's up to you, personal preference. Do what you want to do there. Okay. So going back here real quick, I'm going to explain the redirect attachment pages to post parent. So this guy right here. Okay. Whenever you upload a media file to your website, WordPress will automatically generate a new attachment page for that file. And the generated page has such thin, i.e. virtually non-existent content that it can hurt your SEO. So that's why we want to enable this setting to redirect the attachment pages to the post that does have SEO value. Okay. So that's why that setting is important. Okay. All right, now we are under advanced. I think I'm still under image SEO. Sorry about this. Oh, I see what I did here. Okay, I could write this more clearly. I confused myself. Automated image SEO. So I'm talking about this stuff down here. Okay. Down here. Dang it. This stuff is what I'm referring to when I say automated image SEO optimization. So that's what this stuff can do, automatically do that stuff for you. Okay. If you're entering and manage all of the listings on your website on your own, so you don't have listing owners, you are doing all the listings yourself, the settings below may or may not be important to you, depending on your desire to fully automate. Okay. As the website owner, you cannot control what SEO related meta listing owners might add or not add to their images upon upload. So you should consider enabling the following settings. So take a hard look at these settings and figure out what you want to do there. Because like I said, you have no control over what meta your listing owners are putting into their images and stuff, or not at all. Okay. Okay. So now we're on this advanced thing here. In the guide, I tell you what I remove. And I remove this reply to com, remove link attribute, and post comment. Wherever that is. It's on here something. I can do a search here. Remove attribute. There we go. So I remove that one and I remove other ones. And anyway, refer to the guide. I tell you what all of the boxes here are to check. This is stuff you don't need. It's just frivolous stuff. You don't need it, okay? For the remaining settings related to search engine verification, fill those in as they pertain to your business. So go through all of these, follow the written guide and check the boxes that I tell you to. Of the ones I don't specifically mention, just give them a look over and again, don't guess. Don't just check it off because it sounds good. Just really know what you're setting here, okay? And then down here, if you haven't verified, you can put in your actual site verification for Google site, Bing site, Pinterest, and Yandex in here if you want. If as it says here, like if your site is already verified in Google Search Console, for example, you can leave this field empty. So this just helps you get your stuff verified. All right. Moving to the appearance tab on this section. As the title of this section suggests, the settings here are mainly a matter of preference, but there's also a back-end performance component to think about here. Number one, move SEO meta box's position. So what the heck does that mean? So that's this guy right here. Move SEO meta box's position. By default, it's high priority top. What does that mean? If I look at a post or a listing or a page or whatever, because it is set to high priority, we see it way up here in the list. So we're looking at this SEO meta box configuration thing here. Okay. It's high up on the totem pole. Let's look at a listing instead, actually. So it says high here, but it actually looks like it's not super high. So let's look at this. High priority top. If we set this to low, normal priority default, I'm not sure where that goes. I like to set it to low. I don't think this is going to make any difference though. Let's duplicate this. So this is the before. So it looks like it's, okay, so you see here it put, on the refresh, it put SEO at the very bottom, which is what I typically like to do. And it moved up discussion and comments here, whereas before, so this is the before, we had our listing configuration here, our settings. Well, it was that way before. It's like it's making no difference. Typically it does. Let's look at a post instead. I'm going to put this back to high priority. Let's try it. Let's try looking at a page. Oh, there we go. Okay, this is better. So we see how high up. We don't. Another thing though too, we don't have any content, so that's going to go down the page. I could have sworn that it was it brought it all the way to the top. I could be wrong about that. Let's change this to low now and see if this makes any difference. Sorry guys, I do not know why my workstation is being so slow. All right, let's do a refresh here. It's not really making a difference. Okay, anyway, we'll just move on. It's not super important, but basically it's, as the name said, it's defining where that meta box appears in the list. I like to set it to low. I want that SEO meta box settings to be at the very bottom of the page. So it could be when I was looking at this before, it's like after you install all of your plugins and that has an impact and maybe it appears too high at that point. So just if you ever wondered like, how do I push this box to the bottom and get it out of the way? That's how you do it. Okay. That's what I wanted to bring up. Okay. So I set that to low priority. Number 2, remove content analysis meta box. So what that is you see this content analysis. It's part of this whole SEO meta box thing. You can put in your target keywords, put in MyListing here, and then do like the content analysis. If you are not going to do this, like a lot of people don't use this, right? It's not that it's a bad thing. It's just they don't have the time to do it, the knowledge to do it, don't want to do it, all of those things, right? So you can remove this right here, disable universal meta box. That's one way to do it. But this other one here is remove content analysis part. So you're just removing the content analysis part. So let's do that and refresh our page here. There we go. So now it cleans it up. There's no content analysis. All of those red light, green light, whatever you want to call those, are gone. But again, if you want to take it a step further, you can just disable that, as I showed you earlier, disable that whole box there. If you are not going to actively do this stuff for your website, then get rid of it. And the reason is the page load. You just see how much faster this stuff loads. It's not a knock against SEOPress. It's against any solution that adds configuration options to your page. It can slow it down some. So why not make this page load faster, have less noise, less clutter, less things to look at? If you can, it just makes sense, right? So that's what I wanted to show you there. Number 3, SEO in the admin bar. I like to remove that. So you see up here, same thing. Like I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze. I like to say that when what you get is not worth the potential hit. I don't know if there's a performance hit, what that might be. I just don't ever use this. So why keep it? So you can just remove it from the admin bar. So save changes there. That's gone now. You just go through here and you clean stuff up that you're not going to use. Get it out of the way. Speed up the back end of your site. Make it less cluttered so you can focus on your content and stuff that the job you need to do and that sort of thing. Okay. And things like this, high Genesis SEO meta box, that really applies to if you're using the Genesis theme, so it doesn't really apply here, but just things like that, like really clean this stuff up, take a look at the settings and that sort of thing. All right. Next up is security. This one's pretty simple. This is limiting who can get in here and adjust your SEO settings. Okay. So if you're the website owner and you're the one that does your SEO, I would come down and I would just consider locking everybody out except for the administrator role. Even better, if you want to take it a step further, give yourself an editor role that you log into. It's better for security if you're not always logging in with the admin. Create yourself an editor role, lock everything down to the admin and the editor role, lock everything else down. Okay. Gets a little more tricky when you are hiring an SEO company or you've got multiple team members that may have different role levels, or you need to temporarily give the SEO people their own role and that sort of thing. But the moral of the story here is just lock all of this down to those that you don't want messing up your SEO. Okay. Really lock that down. Okay, so that I believe that takes care of, yeah, so that takes care of SEOPress, the free. You can do a lot with the free version, as you can see, okay? We're gonna go ahead and install the pro version and then pick up there. So plugins, add new. Okay, so we have pro in there, and let's get going. The remainder of this guide and video applies to those who use SEOPress Pro, which opens up the following features: XML and HTML sitemaps, adding the video sitemaps to those sitemaps, redirections, 404 monitoring, structured data types, robots.txt management, htaccess management, local business, schema, AI, breadcrumbs, WooCommerce, easy digital downloads, meta, Google page speed testing, Google Search Console integration, Google News Sitemap integration, broken links monitoring, and Dublin Core. So all of those things are part of Pro, and we're going to look at now for the remainder of this video. SEOPress is part of my tech stack. I use it on every single website. You can get a 25% off discount through the club. Go to the club website and find it. The guide also has a direct link to it. Let's get started into the pro stuff, okay? So we go to SEO, XML sitemap. I'll actually go to the dashboard here, so I'll show you all these new boxes that are in here. So you see our box, we've added quite a few new boxes in here, all right? First one we're gonna start with is the HTML sitemaps and see how that has changed. How it has changed is we now have this right here, this video sitemap. For the MyListing Club website, for example, and my other businesses, I have videos from YouTube that I embed, all right? So I like to do the video sitemap and create a separate sitemap for that, okay? So pretty self-explanatory. If you have videos you're embedding in your site, you want to enable that, most likely, okay? So I'm gonna check that. And then I'm gonna go open the sitemap real quick. Again, this is all of our sitemaps listed here under that core sitemaps.xml. And we now see that I have a video sitemap ready to be generated. I don't have any videos in here yet on this website. It's just a demo website, but if I did, they would all be shown here, okay? All right, next up is redirections and 404 monitoring. Okay, this one's a good topic here. URLs with a 404 page not found status are bad for the user experience, website performance, and used crawl budget. I discussed crawl budget before, why that you want to keep that as pristine as possible, all of which can degrade your overall SEO and conversions. This feature should only be enabled after a site migration or mass content changes. It should remain active for a maximum of 1 month to avoid false positives and unnecessarily taxing your web server. So in short, if you just migrated your site from, say, Yoast or Rank Math or another competitor, and you imported all your metadata into SEOPress, run this for up to a month, just checking out everything. Or if you've migrated your website between web hosts or a page builder or something like that, and you've just done a lot of changes that could have impacted your links, then you want to run this, but no more than a month, okay? And then you want to toggle it off, all right? For performance and all of the additional features that come with the solution, I prefer to do my redirects at Cloudflare, and I link to that in the guide. I've updated this guide too. I've done all this week to get ready for this video, updated all of these guides. And if you do a search here in the Cloudflare guide for redirect, I tell you how to set this up, okay? All right, I'm gonna move this off my screen. So doing the redirects at the edge with Cloudflare takes more stress off. It's one less thing that your server and your host has to do, basically. You definitely don't want to do this at the application level, which is what we're seeing here, if you can avoid it. So worst case is doing it at the application level, the WordPress level. Second worst option is doing it at the server level. Kiinsta does make this really easy. If you have to do it at the server level for some reason, they make it really easy. I like to go all the way to the edge and do it with Cloudflare. Okay, and you can do all that with their free plan. For performance and all of the additional features that come with this solution, I prefer to do my 404 checks on demand, so manually, using SEO Power Suite. Okay, and there's a discount in the club. I use it for all of my businesses. It's not cheap. So if SEO Power Suite is out of reach for you, then I would rather see you use what's built here into SEOPress than using yet another plugin just to do this, okay? Another thing too is you can do this in Google Search Console, and I linked to that guide, which also got revamped. And if we do a search for 404, I just give you some quick, simple instructions for how and what to check for there, okay? Okay, moving on down, structured data types. This is more of an advanced topic, and I can't really get into it in this video because this video will go on forever. This is more of an advanced topic. If you've been around MyListing for any amount of time, structured data is, I don't know how to, a debated topic, a hard topic. It's difficult. I am currently working with SEOPress, the SEOPress team, to try to get the automatic schemas to work. So if you see this option right here, automatic schema, we're still working on this to try to make this a reality. So this is a far less of a hassle for MyListing website owners. Okay, so I would just say stay tuned for that. I'm gonna blow past this, but yeah, it's definitely really important stuff. MyListing includes some structured data stuff out of the box. So if I go to listing types, open one of those up, and we've got schema. So you can configure that here. But for most, I don't know if most is the right word. For a lot of people, this is just too complex and confusing for them. It's not intuitive to use. So what if you could do this automatically? So that's the goal, okay? Okay, so let's move on down to robots.txt. You want to enable this, which it is, as you see, or it's toggled on, I should say, but you also want to enable it here, the virtual file. This plain text file lives at the root of your site, e.g. domain.com/robots.txt, consisting of one or more rules that disallow or allow access for a given search engine crawler to a specified file path inside your website while respecting the robots exclusion standard. This is a fancy way, in short, that's a fancy way, but in short, it's all this is saying is, if you look down here, what do I want to allow crawlers to see and not see, do and not do? What do I want to allow them access to? For just a quick example, if we don't want like SEMrush, for example, or Ahrefs, if we click that box and we say disallow. So if you don't want people to be able to crawl your site with the Ahrefs solution to see what your site is all about, then you want to block that so they're not using your server resources. When they crawl your website, they are using your server resources, right? So you want to disallow that. That's the point of this. But you also want to tell the crawlers what you would like for them to crawl. So for example, if you click this default WP rules, it is saying, don't crawl WP admin for security reasons, and it has no value. But I do want to allow you to crawl the admin-ajax.php, okay? What else? Another one here, link to your sitemap. You want to put that one in there, absolutely. Tell them where your sitemap is. Make it easier for the crawlers to know where the stuff is, okay? In the written guide, I'll just show you here real quick. I give you what I use. So you can just copy this and drop it right in here. So rather than click all of these boxes individually and know what order to put them in, I already have that configured for you, and you can just drop it in right there. Okay, adjust to your needs. If, for example, you're using Ahrefs yourself and you want to run that against your website, you obviously don't want to block Ahrefs, okay? But what you could do is temporarily go in here and say, allow Ahrefs while you're running your scans and your reports and things of that nature. And then once you're done, jump back over here and disallow it. Okay, it's that simple. That's another way that you can go about it. Okay, what else can I tell you? I do have some special mentions there. This is like a hot tip here. One of these is a hot tip. Right off the bat, special mentions. Look at this. I'm going to clear this out just so you can see. Look at this one. Block add to cart links in WooCommerce. So what this is you've got bots that are out there on the internet trying things on your website. They're going to try to add carts to your products to your cart, as part of a process that they're testing or whatever the hell it is that they're doing that they need to do this. So if you look in your server access logs, let's see if I can I'll pull this up on the side while we're talking. If you look in your server access logs, you're going to see this most likely, this URLs with this /add to cart stuff in there. Let me just quickly log in here. Actually, let's see. Yeah, please bear with me for a minute. I think this is worth you seeing. If I can show you. Almost there. But yeah, if you're with Keensta, that's what I'm going to show you here, how easy it is to see this stuff. Okay, here we go. So I'm logged into Keensta, and you go and you just open your site. So in this particular case, the Sandbox site here, and then we go to logs, and then we go to access logs. Okay, and you'll see all of this stuff in here. If I do a search for add to cart, this site has not been running long. Okay, let's do 20,000 entries. Okay, this site hasn't been running long, but as you can see here, add to cart. This is a little different though. So this site hasn't been long enough to really get this, but you'll see add to cart stuff in here, and you'll see actually like products trying to be added. And when you do that, you'll actually see a bot. They'll have a name of a bot in here. So that's how you can easily tell it's a bot. These are actually legit here, but you'll have these piling up in here. And I'll show you from the club website. Let me just pull that up. You know what? Well, for the sake of time, you'll just have to take my word for it. But this is a really hot tip. By blocking this from the robots.txt, you can keep people from doing that, bots from doing that. So that's a really hot tip there. Check your access logs if you're on Keensta or whatever. But if I showed you how to do it on Keensta, it's real easy. Just do a search for that add to cart and see what comes up. Okay. Yeah, so you want to block these bots can contribute to your web server. If you don't, blocking these bots can contribute to your web server using a lot less CPU, memory, and bandwidth. So definitely check that out. Next special mention is the Google AdSense bot. By not including this in your robots.txt template, so by not including it here, which is this right, nope, not that one, this one right here. By not including this here in this template, we are therefore blocking Google AdSense. So you'll want to add this if you're having issues. Yeah, you want to check this out. It's like you want to allow Google AdSense bot in here. So if for some reason you find out that it's being blocked, you want to go in here and put this in here. Okay, let's move on for that one. Now this one's interesting too. So I feel like that's weird though. Like it should have said disallow is blocking. But if I want to allow the Keensta bot, shouldn't that say allow in there? Allow Google AdSense bot. See how it says disallow? Oh, it's because it's empty. That's right. Okay, see how this disallow is empty? That's another way of saying it's allowed. Okay, sorry, brain fart there. Some of these will flat out say disallow, so like block. So this is saying disallow everything. Yeah, okay. This is saying block specific things. Okay, that was my fault. All right, moving on. Block disallowed ChatGPT. So this is interesting. You've had to been living under a rock if you don't know about ChatGPT by now. But if someone is using ChatGPT to try to generate content, there's a chance that your website could be part of that content they generated. So it's actually in the news right now that there's lawsuits from these famous authors saying that ChatGPT is inadvertently plagiarizing. So they're stealing their data. So if you don't want that to happen, you could click this and block all of ChatGPT. Okay, so block ChatGPT from accessing the data on your site with their crawlers. Conversely, you may want to leave that open. So you could see it as free advertising. It just depends. Like you gotta think through that and think: is it free advertising? Is it an intrusion of your unique content? That's for you to decide. But I thought that was kind of a unique thing to bring up there. All right, next up, let's close this down, is we did robots, htaccess. If you are on Kinsta, this does not apply to you, so we keep that very simple. If you are on a host that requires it, then see how it tells you right here, we're using Nginx, so we don't need this. But if you're on hosting that doesn't use Nginx and htaccess comes into play, then you will want to take a look at that there, all right? All right, next up is local business. As you might have guessed, this section applies to those that are considered a local business. When users search for businesses on Google search or Maps by typing in things like best sushi restaurant near me, search results may display details about a business that matches the query. Typically, MyListing-based businesses are only online, so the local business schema doesn't apply. If you are a local business, you'll want to fill in these settings for this area of SEOPress as completely and accurately as possible. So I've said this earlier about another section. I think it was the knowledge graph stuff. Wherever you live online, your information about your business, you want it to be accurate, consistent, all of that, and comprehensive as possible. So for example, if you say your business is in Charlotte, North Carolina, okay, however you want to put North Carolina in here, make sure you put Charlotte, North Carolina everywhere. Don't leave Charlotte out. Don't put a different town that's nearby. That's probably a bad example because you're probably never going to mess that up. Address, make sure the address is typed, 123 North Avenue, whatever. Make sure you don't do this, type out North and then type out an avenue in one, and then you abbreviate it in another. So N period, Av period. Make it consistent across everything because Google is looking for consistency and all of that accurateness to make sure that you are a trustworthy entity, trustworthy business. Okay, I'll get off that soapbox there. Toggle off the local business feature if you're not a local business. So just toggle this off. Okay. All right, let's move over to AI. First up, you need to sign up for an OpenAI API key. I've got a link in the guide to do that. And then you'll just input your key and save your changes, and then you're off and running. Now, there is a cost associated with accessing that OpenAI API. Hard to say. So, but it is very minuscule. It's just stupid cheap. So just ask you that, not to see that there's a small cost and not go and do it. Check it out. They give you free credits, a lot of free credits. Really try this out and see if it's going to benefit your website. Okay. Next up in the guide is how to assign listing meta using OpenAI. So sign up, get the free credits, try this out, see if it's something that you really, really like. And if you want to push forward with it, and even if, just don't worry about the cost. I think it's going to be so minimal that you won't worry about it, given the return it might give you. Okay. So for this, if you go to your listings, and let's just edit this first one here. Sorry, let's go back here. If you check the box for this listing right here, so we're at the root of our listing list, and we go up under bulk actions, we see we have the option, generate meta title with AI. Okay. And then we click apply. One meta title generated with AI. Okay. So you repeat that step with all the listings that you want to do. And you can do it in bulk too, if you want. This feature is currently in the beta phase, and while it works, it's currently a manual process, which I just showed you, blah, blah, blah. Another option is to use the generate meta. Okay, so let's quickly, so we did the title there. So again, we checked the box, bulk actions, generate meta title with AI. Okay, so then if you went and you looked at this on the front end, I wish I would have looked at this before. So let's do that. Let's look at this listing on the front end, this BMW 316. I don't know what that is. Options, titles, meta. I don't know what that is. Okay, so let's do some on-the-fly troubleshooting to see where this is coming from. So this could be a cool learning experience. Seems to be this came in when I did SEOPress Pro, right? Okay, and it wasn't. Okay, so let's try SEOPress. There we go. Okay, so let's activate SEOPress again, and let's find out what is causing this issues. Maybe it's a false positive. SEOPress functions, options, titles, meta. Okay, that's interesting. Options, titles, meta. So let's go ahead and look at our settings. Said titles, so let's go titles and meta. So we saw in the error message, options, titles, and meta. I didn't change anything in here. Oh, you know what it was? That is something I caused. So remember back in here, excuse me, we went in here to the listings and we changed this. Okay, so let's take this out. It's not that it's bad. It's just I didn't really take the time to test all this and make sure it's going to work and all this. So you'd want to adjust that. So let's save changes. Let's refresh. There we go. Okay, some quick bit of troubleshooting on the fly to see how I approach troubleshooting stuff. All right, let's put SEOPress Pro back in there, refresh this page. Errors are still gone, all good. Okay, so let's now view the page source of this listing. Let's duplicate this so we can see a before and after. Okay, now I'm gonna go to this listing, BMW 316D, and I'm gonna do a generate meta title with AI. Okay, it says that's done. Let's look at the meta title before. We see here. Okay, BMW, blah, 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 blah. So now let's see what it gives us. Okay, so it looks like it's the same thing. Anyway, I have a video attached to this SEOPress guide to watch where I go in depth in there. I'm probably missing something really obvious. Oh, I know why it is. It's the brain fart. I don't have the AI set up, so that's my fault. So in here in the settings, let's go back to our AI here. I don't have it set up. I don't have my OpenAI key, so it can't do what it needs to do. Anyway, I should have just said I have a video for this in the guide. So as you can see here, there's the video. So you can watch how I do this, where I actually do it live and set that up. Okay, sorry about that, guys. Okay, so let's move on. And next up, we've got breadcrumbs. This one's gonna be juicy. All right, breadcrumbs. Breadcrumbs are used to indicate a post's, so whether it's a post, page, listing, etc., position in the site hierarchy. It may help users understand and explore a site more efficiently, as a user can navigate all the way up in the site hierarchy, one level at a time, starting from the last breadcrumb in the breadcrumb trail. Okay, so you've probably seen these before. Let me see if I can do a quick Google search. That's not going to bring me actually like an actual breadcrumb, like from a piece of bread. Let's see here. Let me find a good example of a breadcrumb to show you. All right, here we go. So here's an example. So we're looking at this image right here. That's not going to work. Here we go. This is one. See here at the top? So this is a breadcrumb. A/B testing filed under whatever that is. And then, okay, so that's a breadcrumb. If I go back to that image here, okay, we see that we've drilled down women's apparels, casual, topwear, shirts. So it's just a way, it's just another navigation. Okay, here's another example. Home cleaning. So I'm looking up here in the top right. Home cleaning, cleaning supplies, blah, 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 blah. So that's breadcrumb. Okay. Question I see asked often in the help desk, MyListing help desk, but it looks like people stopped asking because they just kept getting, you need custom development for this, which you kind of do. It's kind of a fair statement. So let's look at how we would do this. All right. To illustrate how one might use breadcrumbs with their MyListing website, let's look at enabling them for single listings. So we've got our breadcrumbs here. We're going to drop down here, enable breadcrumbs. We want to check that one. And then under breadcrumbs separator, we're just going to drop in, we'll put that slash there, or the dash, we'll say. Let's choose the first one they give us here. Whatever that is. It's like whatever that is. Okay, so we chose our separator. And then now what we want to do is choose a taxonomy to show the breadcrumbs on. So we want to scroll down to the bottom here. Taxonomy to show breadcrumbs on. We're going to say listings. Okay. And we want to say, this actually isn't working right now. I am working with their team on getting this working. But, sorry, let me brain fart here. Let me go back here. Taxonomy to show for post types, singular, listing. Okay, yes, this is what I don't have working yet. So what you're doing here is, let's say the category, right? Or the region, let's say region. If you wanted to have your breadcrumb, let's pull up a listing here. Let's pull this guy up on the front end. Let's pretend you had the breadcrumb right here underneath the title. Okay, so on the far left, it would say the site title, and then it would say, Mercedes-Benz, the title right here. And then the next piece of the breadcrumb would be the region, let's say, or the category. We could say the category too. And it would give you that hierarchy, right? So that's what this setting right here is saying. Okay. I couldn't get this to work, so I'm working with support. I'm actually going a step further. I don't think that's very useful. So what I would like to see is site under here, or wherever it is that we place our breadcrumb. I would like to see site name, listing type, and then the title of the listing, that sort of thing, or maybe even more granular than that. Okay. So I'm working with the SEOPress team to see if we can do something more there. Hopefully we can. Okay. So that's that. Step 4, display a text before the breadcrumb. So this right here, let's see where it is, down here at the, just do a search. Do a search for the word before. Display text before the breadcrumb. So you could say, like the example here is you are here. So it would say you are here. And then after that, it would display the breadcrumbs after that. So that's a really cool feature that you can add that. And then there's all kinds of things with translations that you can do and that sort of thing. So really, really powerful stuff. But the star of the show here is, can we get this working with listings? All right. One thing is I want to point out here, if you're going to attempt this, back up your site. Don't do this on your live website, obviously. If you do, make sure you back it up first, but better to do it in staging or do it with a local install of WordPress on your computer, which is what I'm doing right here. Definitely do not do this in a production environment until you have it figured out, okay? All right, so how do we do it? I haven't written this down in instructions because I want to wait until I get a response back from SEOPress, but let's look at how to do this. Okay, so I'm gonna pull up this is my local file system. Like I said, I'm using local WP. I have a guide, might have a video too, I can't remember, I think I do, but how to set this up on your workstation. I'm just running WordPress locally so I can bypass caching and all that garbage, okay? So I know where to go for this. So it's under the MyListing. So let's go back. We're at the root of our file system for our website. We go to WP content. We go to themes. We're going to go to the parent theme. And then we're going to go to templates. And it is this guy right here, listing. I believe that's what it was. So I'm going to copy this to my downloads folder. I'm not going to move it. So I'm going to copy this to my downloads folder. Go to my downloads folder. And I'm going to edit this file. And I do all my editing in Visual Studio Code. Again, I've done a video on that recently. It's free. It's super powerful stuff. So this is how the listing is built. This is the file that builds the listings, okay? So what I did then was say, okay, looking at the listing and I say, where would I like to drop this in? I tried a bunch of different places, trial and error, and I came to the conclusion I would like to do it right here under here. So under the title, okay? Let's go ahead and drop in a tagline in here just so we can see how this might look on a majority. I think a majority of MyListing websites use taglines. It's just a guess, but let's just see. Let's just make sure that this would look at if there was a tagline, okay? I'm gonna drop a tagline in here. I'm gonna save it. Go to my listings. We'll go back to this Mercedes-Benz listing. I'm gonna add in that tagline. Migrate car. Okay, save that. Look at it on the front end. There we go. So there's our tagline, right? Now we want to try to drop that breadcrumb right underneath here. Breadcrumbs are for navigation, right? So you want it somewhere that it makes sense for navigation. All right. All right, so we want to go back then to SEOPress into our breadcrumbs, and we see what they give us here. We're not going to add it to the block editor. We're not going to add it to using a short code. You can do all these things. I haven't tested them, but I'm sure you can do all these things. I want to add, because we're editing a PHP file, right? So if we look at our file system, let's see. Find my site here, local site, MyListing, demo, app. Sorry, I thought I had this pulled up still. Themes, MyListing, templates. Okay, here we go. So listing, it's a PHP file, right? So, okay, SEOPress gives us this PHP template, to add to a template, code to add to a template. All right, so I'm just going to copy that code. I'm going to go back into editing that file, and I'm going to do a search. Like if you follow along top to bottom here, you'll kind of recognize some things that make sense. Like it's building this out. It has a logo. It has a tagline. You see the word tagline in there. That sort of thing. Okay, so we need to figure out where to drop this in. I'm not a developer. I know how to reverse engineer things, which is exactly what I'm doing here. Trial and error things, and you can figure this stuff out too, right? You just gotta reverse engineer what this thing is doing. Here we see the word profile avatar, so we know that we're still up in the cover area, right? What else? Edit listing, that's still up there. Okay, so we're getting closer to where we need to be. Star ratings, we're still getting closer. Moving on down. Okay, so here we go. We see quick actions list, but we want to do this before the quick actions list, right? So I just dropped down into here, and let's just drop this code right here. Okay, and we'll save the file. Okay, and let's go and refresh this listing on the front end. Okay, it's not there, right? So it must be in the wrong place. It would show up somewhere, right? Okay, so what I did is and I can't even remember off the top of my head where I put it. So we're gonna do this live right here. So just take that out. Let's go up a level. Let's drop it right in here in between these divs. Save our file. Refresh. Okay, still not there. Just keep repeating our steps until we figure it out. I'll document all of this for people. I just didn't do it yet. All right, let's save. I'm an idiot. It's my fault, guys. I'm an idiot. Okay, I need to upload this file to the darn server. So, oh gosh. Okay, I'm gonna copy this file. Now, this is another key part. So let's go back here. Okay, we're back at the root of our server, right? We go into themes. I've added the MyListing child theme here, okay? So what we need to do in the child theme is create that same path. So in MyListing, we went to MyListing and then templates, and then this was our file. So we need the same path, templates, okay? It's got to be the exact same. So let's go to our child theme. We don't have that templates folder, so let's create that new folder. Okay, and let's drop this file in, which we've already edited now, so it should be ready to go. Okay, now let's refresh. There we go. So you see it's in there, but it's not in the right place. So I actually was probably closer the very first time I tried it. Let's go back to our file. Now we moved this file, so we need to go get it again. So let's go back to our file system, make sure we're editing the exact right file, and this is it right here. Let's edit this again. And let's go find that breadcrumb. Here it is right here. And let's just go and move this down another div. Save and refresh. There we go. We just did it. We just added breadcrumbs. That's pretty cool stuff. Okay, but now what if we want to take this a step further and we want to style that? Because right now it's, it doesn't look good. It's hard to see. If you have the club's guide that I'm following along here, I gave you an example of some code to try this out. So I just copied it to my clipboard. I don't have any code snippets plugin installed. I normally use WP Codebox. So for now, let's just drop it in the customizer. Okay, I'm just going to drop this code in. Publish. Let's refresh that listing. There we go. So I added an underline, a little bit of animation on the hover, change the hover color, and you can change this to whatever it is you want. So go back into here if you don't want it to be, if you want the underline to be red, for example, or purple, whatever. Just change that. You can change whatever you want. You can make the text bigger, smaller. Probably don't want to make it smaller, but bigger. So now you see it's red. Really cool stuff, right? I had never seen anybody do that. I'm not saying I'm a magician or anything, but it's just cool if you dive into this stuff and try to figure it out for yourself. You feel a little empowered. So it's really cool stuff. Okay, so now we're back to the situation again where this isn't really useful. So, okay, yeah, I already know the title of this listing. I know how to get back to the home page, most likely. I click up here in the home menu. So what I'm working with SEOPress, hopefully to do, is figure out how to get more things into this breadcrumb, to be able to customize it however we want. So we're really close. There's got to be a way that we can do that. I just need to figure out how to do it. Maybe it's in here. Yeah, I just got to figure out how to do it. Anyway, I'll get back to you guys on that. I'll do a separate video of walking through all of this, how to set this up step by step in a separate guide and a separate video. But that was really cool. We're on our way to having these breadcrumbs in there. If that's something that's important to you. I know a lot of people have asked for it. Okay, let's move on here. WooCommerce. Really simple stuff here. We are, if you're running a MyListing site, we are all using WooCommerce. Just check this box and or keep this enabled. It's enabled by default. You're good to go. There's nothing you really need to do here. But if you want to review this stuff and check it out, I always encourage that. So that one's pretty easy, self-explanatory. But like I said, there's not much to say other than to keep this enabled. And if you see errors in the Google Search Console related to products, you might want to look at the Remove WooCommerce Schemas feature. So that's down here. So if you're seeing issues in Google Search Console related to your products, you might want to check this box right here, something to look at. Okay, moving on over. So yeah, back to, you may not be running WooCommerce at all. If you're not using MyListing, or you're just got a basic website, or maybe it's a more advanced website, it's just using something other than WooCommerce, toggle this off. You don't need it, okay? Easy digital downloads. If you're happening to use that plugin, that solution, you'll want to look at this. We're jumping over to page speed insights. What this allows you to do simply is run page speed tests right from your dashboard without leaving it. I give you the step-by-step instructions in the guide for how to set this up. Okay. Really simple stuff. Just follow the guide or give it a go yourself. And then you run the analysis. It's going to spit out a report that you can then drill down into, just like PageSpeed Insights would, and identify the errors, fix the errors, rerun the test. You can even save it as the results as a PDF before you run the test again, just to keep like a historical view of how you've improved things or how things have gotten worse, that sort of thing. Yeah, really cool stuff if you want to do this right from your dashboard. Next up is Google Search Console. Same concept as the PageSpeed Insights. If you want to be able to interact with Google Search Console directly from SEOPress, I give you the steps in the guide to set that up. All right. Simple stuff. Just walk through those steps. Next up is Google News. If you are a news outlet, you will know if you are a news outlet. I'm pretty sure. Okay. You'll know if you need this. So if you are a news publisher, use the news sitemaps to tell Google about your news articles and additional information about them. You can either extend your existing sitemap with you can either extend your existing sitemap with news specific tags, or create a separate sitemap reserved just for your news articles. Either option is fine with Google. However, creating a separate sitemap for your news articles may enable better tracking of your content in search via Search Console. This is just a long way of saying, if you are a news outlet, check this box. This is going to generate a news sitemap. I think I should just be able to do that right here for you real quick. Set that. There we go. So got our news sitemap. There's nothing in there now. Probably need to do a little more configuration. I actually never, it's because it's turned off, but I've actually never had to set this up in my entire career. So probably because I'm missing some settings, but anyway, you get the idea. You can figure it out. It's not complex stuff, okay? If you're a news outlet, you're probably very familiar with what that is. Okay, Dublin Core. This one is super simple. I don't know where the broken links went. I think I need to go back and adjust the order of my guide. Anyway, Dublin Core, this one's really simple. Just keep this enabled and don't really think about it. Dublin Core is a set of metadata elements that complement your HTML metadata and is advantageous from an SEO perspective because search engines might interpret the extra code as an effort to make page content as descriptive and relevant as possible. So again, simple choice is just to leave this enabled. This is just metadata to enhance how you define your website and your business and things like that. Okay. URL rewriting. URL rewriting takes a long and or complicated URL and transforms it into a short, clean version that users can remember easily and have no trouble reading or writing when needed. All right. That said, I use Permalink Manager Pro. It's part of my tech stack. It's what I always use for myself and clients. I did that before I even knew that, or even noticed that SEOPress had this note in here. Even they recommend right here, we recommend Permalink Manager Pro for this. So that's going to be my recommendation too. You can get a discount through the club, and I have guides for it as well. But I'm going to go with that recommendation as well and stick with what I'm doing there. Okay, RSS. RSS makes it easy for users to subscribe to your content as they can receive updates from your blog or website directly in their feed readers, desktop applications, and many other devices. Feedly is an example of a feed reader available as a browser add-on and a mobile app for iOS, Android, and Kindle devices. SEOPress gives you the option to easily view your RSS feed and adjust it. So you can click on this View RSS feed right here and see what all is going on in there. And then you can drop down here and you can adjust the settings for it if you want. Okay, pretty cool stuff. I'm going to show you quickly on the club website. I have this added to the club's blog page. So go to the club blog. You can either do a newsletter subscription if you want to see more stuff like I do a monthly, as you see here, I do a monthly blog post like of what's going on and what happened in the club, deals, partnerships, all that sort of thing. So that would be this newsletter subscription. RSS Feeds subscription would be like, if you want to know instantly when I publish a new guide or something like that, then that's what this would be for, okay? So you can click that icon there, and then that's going to give you my feed link, and you just drop that into your application like Feedly or whatever that is. Feedly is free. It's what I use, okay? And just stay on top of blog updates that way, all right? So SEOPress just gives you an easy way of viewing your link and adjusting what is actually in your RSS feed, all right? What else? Broken links. I don't know how I missed that. Let's go here. Broken links. Okay. Broken links. Everything I said and redirect. See, I missed redirections too. So is that not? Yeah, I just missed these. I apologize. Let's go back here to redirections. No, I did go over this. Okay. Okay. I did go over this. So what I am saying here is we are in broken links here on the left. Broken links. I feel like just if SEOPress, if you happen to be watching this, I kind of feel like some of these can be a little combined, but that's just me. I feel like broken links, redirections, 404 monitoring, all that stuff could kind of be combined. But maybe that's because some are pro features and some are not. So I would understand that. But anyway, I'm gonna get off that and say, for broken links, everything I said in the redirections 404 monitoring section of the guide and what I've gone through in this video also applies here. So please review that section. In short, I would disable this feature in SEOPress, or I wouldn't even use it. So dashboard, broken links, where's that at? Staring right at it. There we go. Broken links. I would just turn that off if it was me. Okay. Again, not going to rehash it for the same reasons as the redirections and the 404 monitoring. There's better ways to do it, more performant ways to do it. Okay. All right. That wraps it up, folks. This was a beast of a video. Yeah, I've been meaning to do this for a very long time. I'm embarrassed that I haven't done an SEOPress video to this point, but I think it might be for a good reason. I think SEOPress has done some really amazing things, really innovative things. It's in a really, really good place right now with all the features that it offers and that sort of thing. So, maybe it's for a good reason I waited until now to really showcase this. So hope you found this video useful, and check out the videos for, and the guides for everything that's related to this. Google Search Console, Google Analytics Management, Cloudflare, Permalinks Manager Pro, all of those things. It all works together to help you build the best MyListing websites, WordPress websites in general. All right. Thank you all for watching, and I will catch you on the next one. See ya.